French Revolution, 1789 to 1799. The main cause of French Revolution. The French society was divided into three estates. The first estate clergy, the second estate nobility, and third estate middle class. The first two estates enjoyed all the privileges and the third estate paid all the taxes. This was the main reason for the outbreak of the revolution. The first estate consists of clergy. Clergy collect taxes, operated schools and hospitals. Less than 1% of population. Own 10% of land. The second estate consists of nobility. Born into rights and privileges. Tax exempt. Less than 2% of population. Own 25% of land. The third estate, made up of serfs, peasants, and urban residents. Representatives demanded political and social reform. Seceded from the Estates General after weeks of debate. Became the National Assembly. The church extracted taxes called tithes from the peasants. A growing middle class in 18th century. A new group of people came up in the third estate. These were people who had money, good education and new ideas. They started representing the revolt against the government. They believed that no group in society should be privileged by birth. Philosophers who supported their ideas. John Locke, in his book, Two Treatises of Government, wrote against the belief that the monarch had absolute rights. Rousseau, in his book, The Social Contract, carried the same idea forward. He proposed that government should be based on a social contract between the people and their representatives. In the book, The Spirit of Laws, Montesquieu proposed that power should be divided between the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The ideas of these philosophers were discussed by common people in salons and coffee houses. The outbreak of the revolution. On 5th May, 1789, Louis XVI called a meeting at Versailles. The first and second estates sent 300 representatives. The third estate was represented by its more prosperous and educated members. Peasants, artisans, and women were not allowed to enter the assembly. However, their problems and demands were written down in some 40,000 letters which the representatives had brought with them. Formation of National Assembly. On 20th June, 1789, the people of Third Estate assembled in the hall of an indoor tennis court in the grounds of Versailles. They declared themselves as a National Assembly. While the National Assembly was busy drafting a constitution at Versailles, there was a disturbance in the rest of France. The crops had ruined because of extreme winter. The price of bread went up because of this. Bakers misused this situation and accumulated supplies of bread. People waited for hours in long queues at the bakery. After waiting for long, crowds of angry women forcefully entered into the shops. On 14th July, the angry crowd destroyed the Bastille, a hated prison. Recognition to National Assembly. After seeing the power of the revolting people, Louis XVI finally gave recognition to the National Assembly. He accepted the principle that his powers would be limited from now on. The National Assembly completed the draft of the Constitution in 1791. The Constitution divided the power between the legislature, the executive, the judiciary. The Constitution began with the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. Rights such as right to life, freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, equality before law were considered as natural and inalienable rights. Jacobin Club. People started coming together at political clubs to discuss government policies. The most successful of these clubs was that of the Jacobins. The members of the Jacobin Club were mainly people from the wealthy sections of society. Their leader was Maximilien Robespierre. The Reign of Terror. The period from 1793 to 1794 is known as the Reign of Terror. Robespierre, the leader of Jacobin Club, followed a policy of strict control and punishment. If the court found them guilty, they were guillotined. All the people were allowed to have only a fixed amount of meat and bread. Robespierre implemented his policy so strictly that even his supporters wanted him to relax the policies. Finally, he was convicted by a court in July 1794, arrested and sent to the guillotine. A directory rules France. Two legislative councils were elected. These councils appointed a directory, an executive team made up of 5 members. The political instability of the directory led to the rise of a military director, Napoleon Bonaparte. End of monarchy in France. After the defeat of Napoleon, the old ruling dynasty of France came back to power. In 1848, the monarchy was again overthrown. Finally, in 1871, the Republic was again proclaimed. France soon became one of the first countries where the ideas of social equality gave rise to a new kind of political movement. Women and French Revolution. Women started their own political clubs and newspapers to discuss their interests. One of their main demands was that women should get the same political rights as men. They demanded for the right to vote, to be elected to the assembly and to hold political positions. Finally, in 1946, women in France won the right to vote. Active participation of women in French Revolution. Conclusion. As we know that the main cause of French Revolution was the division of French society into 3 states. This benefited the first 2 states, whereas the people of Third Estate had to pay taxes. But the outbreak of this revolution benefited the Third Estate, that is, landless labor, small peasants, middle class, as their rights were recognized. The privileges enjoyed by the members of the first 2 states were abolished. Therefore, on the whole, I believe that the French Revolution was a positive thing, especially because it is impossible to imagine the world today as it is without it. Thank you.